Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. Think about all the times you sacrificed your own happiness just to make someone else comfortable. Think about every time you bit your tongue because you didn't want to offend someone. Think about every time you said yes, when every part of your soul was screaming, no. Now ask yourself one question. What did it get you? Did it earn you the respect you hoped for? Did it make everyone loyal? Did it guarantee success? Did it make people appreciate your sacrifices? Or did it leave you exhausted, invisible, taken for granted, standing in the corner of your own life while everyone else enjoyed the benefits of your generosity? Today, I want to tell you something that may be difficult to hear, but sometimes the truth hurts before it heals. There is no crown for Mr. Nice. There is no medal waiting for the person who spends their entire life trying to make everyone else happy. There is no parade for the person who never speaks their mind. There is no standing ovation for the man or woman who constantly abandons their dreams so everyone else can chase theirs. Life simply doesn't work that way. And the sooner you understand that, the sooner your life begins to change. When you were a child, people praised you for being nice. Be a good boy. Be a good girl. Share your toys. Don't argue. Don't make trouble. And those are beautiful lessons. Kindness matters. Respect matters. Compassion matters. But somewhere along the journey, many of us learned the wrong lesson. We stopped hearing, be kind. And we started believing, your value depends on keeping everyone happy. That belief became a prison. You started apologizing for things that weren't your fault. You started carrying burdens that weren't yours. You started solving problems nobody asked you to solve. You became the emergency contact for everyone's crisis, while nobody noticed you were quietly drowning. You became the listener, the helper, the fixer, the rescuer, the dependable one. Everyone called when they needed something. But when you needed someone, silence. Do you know what hurts the most? Not the silence itself. What hurts is realizing that you convinced yourself your kindness would eventually be repaid. You believed life was keeping score. You believed that every sacrifice was a deposit into some invisible bank. You thought, if I keep giving, one day the world will give back. But life looked at you and said, no, that's not how it works. Have you ever noticed something strange? The person who always says yes gets asked the most. The person who never complains gets given more work. The person who always forgives gets hurt the most. Why? Because people naturally adjust to what you allow. Think about your favorite chair at home. The first time you sat in it, you appreciated how comfortable it was. After a month, you barely noticed it. Not because the chair changed, but because your comfort became normal. People do the same thing. The more available you become, the more ordinary your availability feels. The more you sacrifice, the less extraordinary your sacrifice appears. Eventually, people stop thanking you. Not because they're evil. Not because they hate you. But because human beings adapt. We adapt to comfort. We adapt to generosity. We adapt to consistency. And unless you teach people where your limits are, they'll assume you don't have any. Imagine carrying a backpack. On the first day, someone places one small stone inside. You smile. It's only one stone. The next day, another stone. It's okay. Then another, and another, and another. Years go by. Now your backpack weighs hundreds of pounds. You're exhausted. Your shoulders ache. Your back hurts. You can barely stand. Then you turn around in anger and ask, who did this to me? Sometimes, the painful answer is, you never stopped people from adding stones. You kept smiling. You kept saying, it's okay. You kept pretending the weight didn't matter, until it became unbearable. Some of you are carrying emotional backpacks so heavy, you don't even remember what it feels like to walk freely. You carry everyone's expectations, everyone's opinions, everyone's disappointments, everyone's responsibilities, except your own dreams. Those got left behind years ago. Let me tell you about an eagle. An eagle is one of the most powerful birds in the sky. It flies higher than almost any other bird. It sees farther. It hunts better, commands respect. But imagine if that eagle spent every day trying to convince chickens to like it. Imagine the eagle walking around the farmyard saying, "I won't fly today because it makes the chickens uncomfortable. I won't spread my wings because people might think I'm showing off. I won't soar because I don't want anyone to feel left behind." How ridiculous would that be? Yet that's exactly what millions of people do every single day. They shrink themselves, hide their talents, silence their opinions, ignore their ambitions, not because they lack ability, but because they're afraid of making other people uncomfortable. Listen to me carefully. You were not born to spend your entire life making yourself smaller so insecure people can feel bigger. You were born with gifts, dreams, purpose, potential. And every day you deny those gifts to gain someone's approval, you rob the world of what only you can contribute. Approval is one of the most addictive drugs on earth. Unlike alcohol, unlike nicotine, unlike gambling, you don't even realize you're addicted. Every compliment feels like a reward. Every thank you becomes your fuel. Every smile becomes proof you're worthy. Then one day, someone criticizes you, and suddenly your whole identity collapses. Why? Because you built your confidence on other people's opinions. That foundation is made of sand. The opinions of people change with the weather. One day they celebrate you. The next day they forget you. One day they applaud. The next day they criticize. If your self-worth rises and falls with applause, you have handed strangers the keys to your happiness. Take those keys back. Because your value is not decided by a crowd. History proves this. Every great inventor was doubted. Every great leader was criticized. Every great artist was misunderstood. Imagine if they had stopped because someone disapproved. Imagine if they had said, "I don't want anyone to dislike me." The world would have lost greatness. Don't let your life become another unwritten masterpiece because you were too busy seeking permission. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must make a decision. Will I live to be accepted, or will I live to become who I was meant to be? Those two paths rarely travel together. The first path feels safe. It is filled with agreement, approval, comfort, but it slowly steals your identity. The second path is uncomfortable. People misunderstand you. Some people leave. Some people criticize you. Some people call you selfish simply because you finally decided to value your own time. But here's the beautiful truth. Every meaningful transformation begins with disappointment. Not your disappointment. The disappointment of people who benefited from the old version of you. When you stop saying yes to everything, the people who depended on your inability to say no will protest. When you stop accepting disrespect, the people who enjoyed disrespecting you will complain. When you establish boundaries, those who profited from your lack of boundaries may accuse you of changing. Smile. They're right. You are changing. You're becoming someone who understands that kindness without self-respect becomes self-neglect. And that is not a virtue. Let me ask you a question. Who are you living for? Not who are you working for? Not who are you providing for? Not who are you trying to impress? I mean, who is writing the story of your life? Because many people spend decades believing they are making their own choices, only to discover they have been acting in a play written by everyone else. They chose a career because their family expected it. They stayed in a relationship because they were afraid of being alone. They kept quiet because they didn't want to upset anyone. They smiled when they wanted to cry. They laughed when they felt broken. They nodded in agreement while their hearts screamed in disagreement. And one day they wake up, 40, 50, 60 years old, looking into the mirror and asking, "Who am I?" Because somewhere along the journey, they became experts at pleasing everyone except themselves. The invisible prison, the most dangerous prison in the world, isn't built from steel. It isn't surrounded by guards. It doesn't have locked doors. The most dangerous prison is the prison of approval. Inside that prison, people wake up every morning asking, "What will people think? What if they don't like me? What if I disappoint them? What if they reject me?" Notice something. Every one of those questions is about someone else. Very few people ask, "What do I believe?" What kind of life do I want? What makes me proud of myself? You can spend your entire life chasing applause. But applause is like thunder. It's loud, it's exciting, and then it's gone. If your happiness depends on applause, then silence will always terrify you. The puppet strings. Imagine a puppet hanging from strings. Whenever someone pulls a string, the puppet moves. Someone compliments it, it smiles. Someone criticizes it, cries. Someone approves, feels confident. Someone ignores it, feels worthless. Now ask yourself, how many strings are attached to you? Does one negative comment ruin your day? Does one rejection make you question your value? Does one person's opinion outweigh your own? If the answer is yes, then someone else is controlling emotions that should belong to you. Every time you allow another person's opinion to define your worth, you hand them another string. Eventually, you are no longer living your own life. You're dancing to someone else's rhythm. The story of the sculptor. Imagine there is an old sculptor. He spends years carving a magnificent statue from a block of marble. Every detail is crafted with patience. Every curve is intentional. Every mark has purpose. One day, a crowd gathers around his work. The first person says, "The nose is too big." The sculptor changes it. The second says, "The shoulders are too wide." He changes them too. A third says, "It should be taller." So he reshapes it again. Then another says, "It should be shorter." Another says, "It should smile." Another says, "It should look serious." After months of trying to satisfy everyone, the statue no longer resembles the masterpiece he originally envisioned. It has become a confused collection of other people's opinions. Now let me ask you, how many people are sculpting your life? One person's expectations, another person's fears, another person's opinions, another person's traditions, another person's approval, until one day, you no longer recognize yourself. Fear disguised as kindness. Many people say, "I'm just being nice." But are they, or are they afraid? There's a difference. Kindness says, "I want to help." Fear says, "I have to help or they won't like me." Kindness is freedom. Fear is slavery. Kindness chooses. Fear obeys. Kindness comes from confidence. Fear comes from insecurity. If you help someone because you genuinely care, that is beautiful. But if you're helping because you're terrified of disappointing them, that isn't kindness. That's fear wearing kindness like a mask. Have you ever tried pouring water from an empty cup? You can't. Yet millions of people try to pour love, support, patience, energy, encouragement into everyone else's lives, while their own cup is completely empty. They never rest. They never heal. They never say no. They never recharge. And eventually, they begin to resent the very people they were trying to help. Not because helping is wrong, but because they forgot something important. You cannot continuously give what you no longer possess. Even the sun disappears every evening. Even the ocean has tides. Even the strongest tree loses its leaves before growing new ones. Nature understands the importance of renewal. Why don't we? Every time you board an airplane, the flight attendant gives the same instruction. If the oxygen masks drop, secure your own mask before helping others. Have you ever wondered why? Isn't that selfish? No, because if you lose consciousness trying to save everyone else, you save no one. The strongest people understand this principle. They take care of themselves, not because they love others less, but because they know they cannot pour from an empty cup. Yet so many people ignore this wisdom in everyday life. They sacrifice sleep, health, dreams, peace of mind, all in the name of being nice. Then they wonder why they feel exhausted all the time. Imagine planting 2 trees. The first tree spends all its energy growing upward. Its roots sink deep into the earth. Its branches stretch toward the sky. It becomes strong enough to provide shade for thousands of people. The second tree spends all its energy trying to lean toward every plant around it. Every time another plant grows in a different direction, it changes course, it twists, it bends. It weakens itself trying to satisfy everyone nearby. Years later, the first tree stands tall. The second barely survives. Here's the lesson. If you spend your life trying to grow in every direction to satisfy everyone, you'll never become strong enough to fulfill your own purpose. Here's something nobody tells you. Growth makes people uncomfortable. Not just you, everyone around you. When you begin setting boundaries, some people will call you arrogant. When you stop accepting disrespect, some people will accuse you of changing. When you start pursuing your dreams, some people will say you've forgotten where you came from. But remember this. The caterpillar didn't become a butterfly by asking permission from the other caterpillars. Imagine if it did. I don't want to leave because someone might miss me. I don't want to change because people expect me to stay the same. It would never fly. Transformation always disappoints people who were comfortable with the old version of you. That's okay. Because your purpose is not to remain who you were yesterday. Your purpose is to become who you're capable of becoming. You need to stop negotiating your worth. One of the saddest habits people develop is negotiating their own value. They lower their standards to avoid losing people. They stay silent to keep the peace. They tolerate disrespect because they fear loneliness. Listen carefully. If someone only values you when you have no boundaries, they don't value you. They value your compliance. Real respect doesn't disappear the first time you say no. Healthy relationships don't collapse because you express an opinion. True friends don't vanish because you protect your peace. Sometimes the people who leave your life are making room for the people who belong in it. Now take some time and imagine standing at the base of a mountain. Thousands of people surround you. Some shout, "Don't climb. It's too risky. You'll fail. Stay here with us." Now imagine you listen. Years pass. The crowd is still standing exactly where they started. They're still talking, still complaining, still dreaming, but they've never climbed. One day you look up at the summit, and you realize the people who told you not to climb were never trying to protect you. They were protecting themselves from watching you succeed. Never allow someone with no intention of climbing to convince you the mountain isn't worth it. Here's a truth that changed my life. No one is coming to hand you a crown simply because you sacrificed your happiness. Life doesn't reward silent suffering. Life rewards courage. It rewards growth. It rewards action. It rewards people who are willing to become uncomfortable in pursuit of something meaningful. Stop waiting for someone to recognize your sacrifices. Recognize your own potential. Stop waiting for permission to become who you are. You already have permission. The only approval you truly need is the approval you see in the mirror every morning. When you can look yourself in the eyes and say, "I lived today with honesty. I respected myself. I stood for what I believed. I refused to abandon my dreams." Then, whether the world applauds or stays silent, you have already won. Because there is a victory far greater than popularity. It is the victory of becoming fully yourself. And that is a crown no one can give you, because it's one you earn. Now I want to ask you a question that may make you uncomfortable. What has being too nice actually cost you? Not what has it gained you. Not what has it made people think about you. I mean, what has it cost you? Because every decision in life has a price. Success has a price. Discipline has a price. Love has a price. Freedom has a price. But do you know what many people never calculate? The price of saying yes when they should have said no. The price of silence. The price of pretending. The price of abandoning yourself. Those prices don't appear on a receipt. They appear in your life. They appear in the opportunities you never took. The dreams you never chased. The relationships that slowly drained your spirit. The years you spent living someone else's expectations instead of your own. One yes may seem harmless, but 1,000 dishonest yes can quietly steal a lifetime. Most people think their lives change because of one dramatic moment, but they don't. Lives are shaped by tiny decisions repeated over and over again. Every time you ignore your own needs, a small piece of you disappears. Every time you stay silent when you should speak, another piece disappears. Every time you let someone disrespect you, another piece disappears. One day you wake up and wonder, Where did the confident version of me go? It didn't disappear overnight. It disappeared one compromise at a time. Imagine a beautiful statue carved from solid stone. Now imagine someone walks by every day and chips away just one tiny piece. The damage is almost invisible. But after years, the statue no longer resembles what it once was. That is exactly what happens when you constantly betray yourself. Nobody notices the first compromise. But eventually, you don't recognize yourself anymore. The man who built everyone else's dream, let me tell you a story. Imagine a man named David. David is talented, creative, hardworking. Ever since he was a little boy, he dreamed of opening his own business. He imagined the building, the customers, the sign with his name on it. But life happened. A friend needed help. David said yes. Another friend needed money. David helped. His family needed him. He postponed his dream. His coworkers needed someone to cover extra shifts. He volunteered. Every year he told himself, next year, I'll finally start my business. Next year became 5 years. 5 years became 10. 10 years became 20. Then one evening, David was driving home after another long day helping everyone else build their dreams. He stopped at a red light. He looked into the mirror, and he barely recognized the man staring back at him. He whispered, "When did I stop living my own life?" That question is haunting, because for many people, it arrives too late. Life doesn't usually steal your dreams. Sometimes, you give them away, one small sacrifice at a time. The danger of becoming invisible. There's something fascinating about human nature. The more predictable you become, the less visible you become. Imagine a clock hanging on your wall. You probably don't notice it anymore. Not because it stopped working, but because your brain has become accustomed to it. It has become part of the background. People can do the same thing. If you always volunteer, people expect it. If you always solve everyone's problems, people expect it. If you always forgive, people expect it. Eventually, your extraordinary generosity becomes ordinary. You become invisible, not because you're unimportant, but because you've taught everyone that you'll always be there, no matter what. And here's the painful truth. Sometimes people don't realize your value until you're no longer available. Imagine a basketball team. One player arrives early every day, practices harder than anyone else, helps clean the locker room, encourages teammates, never complains. But during every game, he stays on the bench. Years pass. He finally asks the coach, "Why don't I ever get to play?" The coach replies, "Because you've never asked." Think about that. He assumed hard work alone would speak for itself. But opportunities often go to people who are willing to step forward. Being humble is admirable. Making yourself invisible is not. The world cannot reward gifts it never sees. The weight of unspoken words. Have you ever left a conversation thinking, "I should have said something"? Maybe someone insulted you. Maybe they crossed a line. Maybe they dismissed your idea. But instead of speaking, you smiled. You laughed. You pretended everything was okay. Why? Because you wanted to avoid conflict. But here's what happens. Conflict avoided doesn't disappear. It moves inside you. It becomes frustration, resentment, bitterness. Every word you refuse to say doesn't vanish. It simply echoes inside your own mind. Silence may keep the peace for a moment, but dishonesty with yourself creates a war within. Imagine a volcano. Every day pressure builds beneath the surface. No one sees it. Everything appears calm. Birds fly overhead. People walk nearby. The mountain looks peaceful. But deep underground, pressure keeps increasing. Eventually, the volcano erupts. People are shocked. They say, "Where did all that anger come from?" The truth? It had been building for years. Many nice people live exactly like that. They suppress every disappointment, every frustration, every insult, every unfair situation, until one day, they explode. The people around them say, "This isn't like you." Actually, it is. It's just years of unspoken truth finally finding a voice. Healthy people don't wait until they explode. They speak before the pressure becomes unbearable. Stop mistaking peace for silence. Many people believe peace means nobody is upset. That's not peace. That's avoidance. Real peace comes from honesty. Imagine a family where nobody ever argues. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But look closer. Nobody shares their real opinions. Nobody expresses disappointment. Nobody talks about problems. They simply bury everything beneath fake smiles. That isn't peace. That's emotional distance wearing the mask of harmony. Healthy relationships are honest. They have difficult conversations. They disagree respectfully, because honesty builds trust. Pretending builds distance. Imagine running a marathon. At mile 1, someone jumps onto your back. You think, it's only one person. Mile 5, another climbs on. At mile 10, another. Soon you're carrying 5 grown adults. Now ask yourself, would anyone expect you to finish the race? Of course not. Yet emotionally, that's exactly what many people do. They carry everyone's expectations, everyone's fears, everyone's responsibilities, everyone's disappointments. Then they wonder why they're exhausted. Here's the truth. You were never designed to carry the emotional weight of everyone around you. Some burdens belong to other people. And loving someone doesn't mean carrying everything they refuse to carry themselves. Imagine owning a beautiful hotel. Every guest is welcome. No questions asked. No reservations needed. No closing hours. No limits. Sounds generous. Now imagine what happens. People arrive day and night. Some respect the place. Others destroy it. Some stay for a week. Others never leave. Soon the hotel becomes overcrowded, broken, chaotic. The owner becomes exhausted. Why? Because the hotel had no doors, no rules, no boundaries. Your life is exactly the same. Boundaries are the doors to your peace. Without them, everyone walks in, everyone takes something, and eventually, there is nothing left for you. This may be one of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn. You cannot rescue everyone. Some people don't want solutions. They want someone to carry the consequences of their choices. Some people repeat the same mistakes because someone always saves them. If every time a child falls, you never let them stand on their own, they never learn balance. Helping isn't always rescuing. Sometimes helping means stepping back. Sometimes helping means allowing people to face the consequences that will teach them what your protection never could. Compassion isn't doing everything for everyone. Compassion is doing what truly helps, even when it's uncomfortable. Every morning you look into a mirror. You adjust your clothes, your hair, your appearance. But tonight, I want you to imagine a different mirror. A mirror that doesn't reflect your face. It reflects your character. What would you see? Would you see someone living courageously, or someone hiding behind politeness? Would you see confidence, or fear disguised as kindness? Would you see a person building their own dreams, or someone constantly postponing them for everyone else? That mirror never lies. And the beautiful thing is, every single day gives you another chance to become someone you're proud to see reflected there. People think the greatest loss in life is money. It isn't. They think it's failure. It isn't. The greatest loss is unrealized potential. Imagine reaching the end of your life. You meet the person you could have become, the confident version, the courageous version, the entrepreneur, the artist, the leader, the inventor, the teacher, the dreamer who actually acted. They look at you with sadness and ask, "What happened?" And you answer, "I was too busy making everyone else comfortable." Don't let that conversation ever happen. Because your purpose isn't to leave this world known as the nicest person who never upset anyone. Your purpose is to leave this world knowing you had the courage to become exactly who you were created to be. Strength is not saying yes to everything. Strength is knowing when to say no. Strength is not carrying everyone's burdens. Strength is carrying your own with dignity. Strength is not avoiding every difficult conversation. Strength is speaking with honesty, even when your voice shakes. Strength is not living for applause. Strength is standing firm, even when the room falls silent. And let me tell you something beautiful. The moment you stop living for approval, you begin living with purpose. The moment you stop chasing acceptance, you begin attracting respect. The moment you stop apologizing for existing, you finally make room for the person you were always meant to become. Because there is no crown waiting for the person who spent a lifetime pleasing everyone. But there is something far greater. A life lived with integrity. A life lived with courage. A life where, every morning, you wake up knowing one simple truth. I may not please everyone, but I will never again abandon myself. And that is where real freedom begins. There comes a moment in every person's life, a moment that no one else can decide for you. It is not the day you get your first job. It is not the day you get married. It is not the day you become wealthy. It is the day you finally look at yourself and say, enough. Enough pretending. Enough apologizing for taking up space. Enough carrying responsibilities that were never mine. Enough shrinking my dreams so other people can feel comfortable. Enough living a life that belongs to everyone except me. Because let me tell you something, the day you choose yourself is the day your real life begins. Not because you become selfish, but because you finally stop abandoning yourself. You teach people how to treat you. People often ask, why do people keep taking advantage of me? That's a painful question. But sometimes, the answer is even more painful. Because people learn how to treat you by watching what you tolerate. Imagine you own a beautiful house. Every day someone walks into your yard and throws trash on your lawn. The first day you say nothing. The second day you stay silent again. The third day, the pile gets bigger. Soon, other people start throwing their trash there too. Why? Because your silence became permission. Now imagine something different. The very first time someone throws trash into your yard, you calmly walk over and say, I'm sorry, but this is my property. Please don't do that again. Notice what happened. You didn't yell. You didn't insult them. You simply protected what belongs to you. Your life works the same way. Your peace is your property. Your time is your property. Your energy is your property. Your self-respect is your property. If you don't protect them, don't be surprised when others treat them as if they belong to everyone. Have you ever noticed something about a lion? The lion doesn't spend its day convincing the jungle that it's powerful. It doesn't walk around saying, please respect me. Please notice me. Please approve of me. The lion simply walks with confidence. It knows who it is. Confidence doesn't scream. Insecurity does. The loudest person in the room is often the one seeking validation. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need everyone to agree. It simply stands. There is a lesson in that. Stop trying to convince everyone of your worth. People who truly see your value won't need convincing. And those who refuse to see it wouldn't have seen it anyway. Boundaries are bridges, not walls. One of the biggest misunderstandings in life is this. People think boundaries push others away. They don't. Healthy boundaries actually create healthier relationships. Imagine a river. Without banks, what happens? The water spreads everywhere. It becomes a swamp. Chaotic, unclear, unusable. But when the river has strong banks, its water becomes focused, powerful enough to generate electricity, powerful enough to nourish farms, powerful enough to support life. Boundaries are like the banks of a river. They don't stop love. They give love direction. Without boundaries, relationships become confusing. People begin taking more than they give. Resentment grows. Trust fades. But when two people respect each other's limits, their relationship becomes stronger, not weaker. Never apologize for having healthy boundaries. They are not barriers to love. They are the foundation of respect. Stop auditioning for a role you already have. Many people live every day as if they are on stage. Every conversation becomes an audition. Every decision becomes a performance. Every action is designed to earn approval. But here's the truth. You are already enough. You don't have to perform to deserve respect. You don't have to earn the right to exist. Imagine a flower. Does it wake up every morning wondering if the garden approves? No. It blooms because blooming is its nature. The sun doesn't ask permission to rise. The ocean doesn't apologize for its waves. The mountains don't shrink because someone thinks they're too tall. Nature never apologizes for being what it was created to be. Why do we? Somewhere along the way, we started believing that confidence was arrogance, that speaking up was selfish, that putting ourselves first sometimes was wrong. No, there's a difference between selfishness and self-respect. Selfishness says, only my needs matter. Self-respect says, my needs matter too. Never confuse those two. Imagine you're standing at an airport. Flights are being announced every few minutes. Some people rush toward gate 12. Others head to gate 8. Another group lines up for gate 21. Now imagine you start following every crowd. First gate 12, then gate 8, then gate 21. Eventually, you miss your own flight. That's what happens when you constantly compare your journey to everyone else's. Someone buys a bigger house. You feel behind. Someone gets married. You panic. Someone starts a business. You question your own career. Someone becomes famous. You doubt your progress. Listen carefully. Just because someone else's plane is taking off doesn't mean yours has been canceled. Your journey has its own destination, its own timing, its own purpose. Stop running toward every gate. Find the one with your name on it. This may be the hardest lesson of all. If you want to live an authentic life, you must become comfortable with being misunderstood. There will always be people who don't understand your choices. Some will say you've changed. Others will call you selfish. Some will walk away. And do you know what? Let them. Not because you hate them, but because peace built on pretending isn't peace at all. Imagine a sculptor carving marble. Every strike of the hammer removes something. If the marble could speak, it might cry, "You're hurting me." But the sculptor sees what the marble cannot. He sees the masterpiece hidden inside. Growth often feels like loss. You lose old habits, old fears, old identities. Sometimes, you even lose people. But not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Sometimes it's simply making room for who you're becoming. Tonight, when you go home, I want you to stand in front of a mirror. Look into your own eyes. Not for 5 seconds. Not while brushing your teeth. Really look. Then ask yourself these questions. Am I living my life? Or am I living the version of life that other people expect from me? When was the last time I said yes when I wanted to say no? When was the last time I chose peace over honesty? What dream have I been postponing because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? Don't rush the answers. Some questions are meant to echo. Sometimes the most important conversations you'll ever have are the ones you have with yourself. Many people are waiting until they feel confident, waiting until everyone supports them, waiting until fear disappears, waiting until the timing feels perfect. Let me save you years of frustration. That day is never coming. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes because of action. Imagine a swimmer standing beside a pool. They say, "I'll jump in once I know how to swim." Impossible. Swimming is learned in the water. Life works the same way. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is moving while fear is still standing beside you. Every successful person you've ever admired has been afraid. The difference is, they refused to let fear become the author of their story. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 20 years from now. Your hair is different. Your face has changed. Time has left its fingerprints. Now imagine that future version of you is standing in this room, watching, listening. What would they say? Would they thank you for finally taking that risk? Would they thank you for protecting your peace? Would they thank you for starting the business, writing the book, changing careers, leaving the toxic relationship, speaking your truth? Or would they whisper, "I wish you had believed in us sooner"? Your future is being built by today's decisions. Not tomorrow's, not next year's, today's. How many dreams have died waiting for permission? Permission from family, permission from friends, permission from society. Permission from people who have never lived your life. Here's the truth. Most people giving advice are protecting their own comfort. They tell you what they would do, not what you are capable of doing. Don't confuse other people's limitations with your own. Some of the greatest achievements in history began with someone ignoring the voices that said, "It can't be done." If they had waited for unanimous approval, nothing extraordinary would ever have happened. The new definition of nice, let me redefine what it means to be a good person. A good person isn't someone who says yes to everything. A good person tells the truth with kindness. A good person keeps their promises. A good person respects others. A good person also respects themselves. A good person helps when they can, but doesn't destroy themselves trying to save everyone. A good person forgives, but doesn't repeatedly volunteer to be hurt. A good person loves deeply, without losing their identity. That's strength. That's maturity. That's wisdom. The warrior within there is a warrior inside every human being. Not a warrior who fights with anger. Not a warrior who seeks conflict. A warrior who protects what matters. A warrior who refuses to surrender their dreams. A warrior who stands when life says, "Sit down." A warrior who speaks when fear says, "Stay silent." A warrior who keeps walking when doubt whispers, "You'll never make it." That warrior has always been inside you. You've simply spent too many years asking permission to let them out. Today, the waiting ends. Today, you stop apologizing for your ambition. Today, you stop shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown. Today, you stop believing your purpose is to make everyone comfortable. Because here's the truth. You were never born to become everyone's approval project. You were born to become the fullest expression of who you were created to be. And that journey begins the moment you decide that your own voice deserves to be heard. The moment you decide that your own dreams deserve to be pursued. The moment you realize that there is something far more valuable than being liked. It is living a life that is honest. A life that is courageous. A life that is authentically yours. Because at the end of your life, no one will ask whether everyone approved of you. The only question that will matter is this: did you have the courage to become yourself? And I hope, with every fiber of my being, that your answer will be yes. Hello, special one. We've talked about people-pleasing. We've talked about fear. We've talked about boundaries. We've talked about courage. But before we leave this room, I want to talk about something even bigger. I want to talk about your legacy. Because one day, every single one of us will run out of tomorrows. One day, someone else will sleep in your bed. Someone else will drive your car. Someone else will sit in your chair. The world will continue turning. The question is not whether life will move on. The question is, what story will your life tell? Will your story be about a person who spent their entire existence trying not to disappoint people? Or will it be about someone who had the courage to become exactly who they were meant to be? Because the greatest tragedy isn't dying. The greatest tragedy is reaching the end of your life and realizing you never truly lived. Close your eyes. Imagine you're 90 years old. Your hair has turned white. Your hands carry the wrinkles of time. Your body has slowed down. You sit quietly in a rocking chair. Outside, the sun begins to set. You begin remembering your life, the opportunities, the relationships, the victories, the failures, the dreams. Now ask yourself, what memories do you want to have? Do you want to remember all the times you stayed silent because you were afraid? Do you want to remember every dream you postponed? Every opportunity you ignored? Every moment you abandoned yourself to keep someone else comfortable? Or do you want to smile because you know you gave everything you had? Because you dared to fail, because you dared to grow, because you dared to become yourself. At 90 years old, nobody wishes they had pleased more people. They wish they had lived more honestly. Imagine your life is a book. Every day, you write another page. Some chapters are joyful, some are painful, some are confusing, some are beautiful. But here's the important part. You are holding the pen, not your parents. Not society, not your critics, not your friends, not your boss, not your fears. And yet, so many people hand the pen away. They let fear write the chapters. They let guilt write the chapters. They let rejection write the chapters. They let other people's expectations become the author of their lives. Then they wonder why the story doesn't feel like theirs. Take the pen back. Write a story you're proud to read. Stop living in the waiting room some people spend their entire lives waiting. Waiting until they have more money. Waiting until they feel confident. Waiting until the children grow up. Waiting until the perfect opportunity appears. Waiting until everyone believes in them. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Life is not lived in the waiting room. Life is happening now. The clock isn't slowing down because you're uncertain. Time doesn't pause because you're afraid. Every sunrise asks the same question. What will you do with today? Not next year. Not someday. Today. The mountain and the echo. Imagine climbing a mountain. As you climb, you hear voices behind you. You'll never make it. Turn around. Who do you think you are? You're changing. You've become selfish. You've forgotten us. For a moment, you stop climbing. Then something incredible happens. You reach a point so high that you realize those voices aren't coming from people anymore. They're echoes. Echoes from a lower place. The higher you climb, the quieter they become. Never allow echoes from your past to stop you from reaching your future. Imagine your life is a garden. Every morning you have a choice. You can water your dreams. Or you can water your fears. You can feed confidence. Or you can feed insecurity. You can plant courage. Or you can plant excuses. Whatever you water will grow. If every day you water guilt, guilt becomes your forest. If every day you water confidence, confidence becomes your future. The harvest you experience tomorrow depends on what you're planting today. There is an old story about two wolves living inside every person. One wolf lives on fear. It whispers, "Don't speak. Don't risk it. Stay small. Keep everyone happy. You'll fail." The other wolf lives on courage. It whispers, "You were born for more. Stand up. Speak your truth. Take the chance. Believe in yourself." Someone once asked, "Which wolf wins?" The answer was simple: the one you feed. Every decision you make feeds one of those wolves. Every time you choose courage, the fearful wolf becomes weaker. Every time you choose authenticity, the courageous wolf becomes stronger. The battle isn't outside you. It's within you. And every single day, you decide who wins. Many people think success means everyone likes you. No. Success is waking up excited about the life you're building. Success is looking in the mirror without regret. Success is sleeping peacefully because you lived honestly. Success is becoming someone your younger self would admire. Imagine speaking to the 10-year-old version of yourself. That little child who believed anything was possible. Would that child be inspired by the person you've become? Or would they ask, "What happened to our dreams?" Don't let fear answer that question. The world doesn't need another copy. The world doesn't need another person pretending to be someone they're not. It already has enough masks, enough fake smiles, enough hidden pain, enough people sacrificing authenticity for acceptance. The world needs something much rarer. It needs you, not a smaller version of you, not the edited version, not the version designed to offend no one. The real you, with your ideas, your voice, your gifts, your dreams, your purpose, because there has never been another person exactly like you, and there never will be again. That means your contribution is irreplaceable. Don't rob the world of it. Imagine you're standing before a bridge. On one side stands the person you've always been, the people pleaser, the approval seeker, the person afraid to disappoint anyone, the person who constantly says, "Maybe later." On the other side stands someone different, someone who still loves deeply, still serves others, still acts with kindness. But now, they have boundaries, they have confidence, they know their worth, they protect their peace, they pursue their purpose. The bridge between those two people is only one decision wide, not 1,000 decisions. One, the decision to stop betraying yourself. everything else follows. No matter what you do, someone will disagree. If you're quiet, someone will call you weak. If you're confident, someone will call you arrogant. If you're ambitious, someone will say you've changed. If you're generous, someone will say you're trying too hard. If you're successful, someone will say you got lucky. So here's my advice. If people are going to criticize you anyway, give them something extraordinary to talk about. Don't build an ordinary life trying to avoid extraordinary criticism. Years ago, I realized something. The saddest prison isn't made of bars. It's made of words. I can't. What if? Maybe later. I'm not good enough. They won't approve. Those invisible sentences have trapped more dreams than any prison ever built. Break those bars. Not tomorrow. Today. You have one life. One. Not a rehearsal. Not a practice round. Not a second draft. One life. One heartbeat at a time. One sunrise at a time. One opportunity at a time. Don't spend it asking people for permission to become yourself. Don't spend it collecting approval instead of memories. Don't spend it chasing applause instead of purpose. Because applause fades. Purpose echoes forever. Remember how we began. Asked, who deserves the crown? Most people would have answered, the nicest person. But now, you know better. There is no crown for Mr. Nice. There is no trophy for abandoning your dreams. There is no medal for saying yes to everything. There is no reward for living someone else's life. But there is a crown. It isn't made of gold. It isn't covered in diamonds. Nobody places it on your head. You earn it. You earn it every time you choose courage over comfort. Every time you tell the truth when lying would be easier. Every time you protect your peace. Every time you say no without guilt. Every time you stand back up after failure. Every time you believe in yourself when no one else does. Every time you choose purpose over popularity. That is the crown. Cannot be bought. Cannot be stolen. Cannot be inherited. It is forged in the quiet moments when nobody is watching. When you leave here today, don't promise me you'll change your entire life overnight. Don't promise you'll never be afraid again. Fear is part of being human. Instead, promise yourself something much simpler. The next time your heart says no, don't force it to say yes. The next time someone crosses your boundaries, speak. The next time your dream knocks on the door, answer. The next time fear whispers, you're not ready, smile. And whisper back, maybe not, but I'm going anyway. Because courage is not waiting until you're fearless. Courage is walking forward while your knees are shaking. Years from now, someone may ask you, when did your life change? Maybe you'll smile. Maybe you'll remember this moment. Not because of my words, but because of your decision. The decision to stop living for approval. The decision to stop apologizing for existing. The decision to stop carrying a weight that was never yours. The decision to stop shrinking your light. The decision to finally become you. Ladies and gentlemen, the cemetery is filled with people who had brilliant ideas. Businesses that were never started. Books that were never written. Songs that were never sung. Conversations that were never had. Dreams that never left the imagination. Not because those people lacked talent. Not because they lacked intelligence. But because they spent their lives waiting for permission. Don't let that become your story. Walk out of this room. Stand a little taller. Speak a little louder. Dream a little bigger. Love yourself enough to protect your peace. Respect yourself enough to say no. Believe in yourself enough to keep going. And remember, you were never born to spend your life chasing approval. You were born to create impact. You were never born to fit into someone else's expectations. You were born to leave your own footprint on this world. So go, build, create, lead, fall, rise, fail, learn, dream, fight, become. Because one day when you look back on your life, I hope you don't see someone who spent decades trying to earn a crown that never existed. I hope you see someone who discovered a far greater treasure. A person who lived with courage. A person who loved without losing themselves. A person who stood firm when life demanded compromise. a person who walked their own path, a person who didn't just exist, but truly lived. Thank you, and may the next chapter of your life be the greatest one you've ever written. Goodbye and thanks for listening.